is why we aim to unlock the doors of opinion, unveiling the stories that need to be told. Join Omobola Sandra and Sage Babalola on the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM from 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. as we invoke the thought-provoking discussion, tackling the tough questions, challenge assumption, and give a voice to the unheard. This is the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM.
Welcome on board the Morning Express.
Good morning.
Mainland 98.3 FM is the dial. My name is Sage Babalola. Good morning and welcome to another insightful episode of Trends in the Papers, where we unpack new and developing stories on a daily basis. Now, over the course of the hour, we're going to be taking a closer look at today's headlines. We'll sort of be breaking down the essential news from across the country, politics, the state of the nation, to health, to humanitarian effort, especially in light of the natural disasters, flooding that some states in the Federation have faced over the last couple of weeks, where we remain dedicated to bringing you some sort of 360-degree view of what's really happening in the country. Well, join us this morning as we highlight key articles. We're going to share insightful commentary. So we basically just want to equip you with the knowledge to understand the implications of these headlines and sort of encourage thoughtful discussions on your part, which is why we are available on social media. We stream the program live on Facebook and on YouTube. So for any part of the country you're in, as long as you have access to the internet, you can be a part of the conversation on Facebook and on YouTube. You can find us at Mainland 98.3 FM. You can also listen via Radio Garden. That's if you don't have access to your regular radio, you can listen via Radio Garden. The handle is also the same, or the frequency is also the same at Mainland 98.3 FM. Fᴜဃᴜ is going to be joining us virtually for conversations, but know that as we progress with the conversation, you have an opportunity to drop your submissions in real time using our live stream. So join the live stream once again at Mainland 98.3 FM. My name is Sage Babalola. Welcome once again. It is Mainland 98.3 FM. The Morning Express is what we're doing right now, 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. But then we have different segments of the Morning Express, and like I said earlier, the next 45 minutes will be dedicated to analyzing the stories that have been reported on the front pages of our dailies. And that particular segment of the Morning Express, the front page of each of these papers. The minute we're able to connect with Fᴜဃᴜ, who'll be analyzing with us this morning, we are going to kick off our conversations. But then again, it is impossible to kick off conversations without highlighting the story that broke yesterday. A lot of people have had opinions about the back and forth, the contradictory statements that have been made over this particular issue. And before we sort of introduce the first story for conversation this morning, let's say our good mornings to Fouad Said. Fouad, good morning to you. Thank you for joining us. Hello. Oh, we apologize for that. Once again, we have technology to conversation this morning, analyzing the front pages of our dailies. Well, the Punch newspaper does report that Yahaya Bello, EFCC besieged Kogi Governor's Lodge. That is the biggest story in the country at this time, with many pundits give out.
How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good. Very good.
Nice. All right. I was about to start conversations regarding Yahaya Bello and his encounter with the EFCC. Well, the Punch reports this morning on the front page that EFCC besieged Kogi Government Lodge, plans Yahaya Bello's arrest. That's the headline. The story in itself tells us that operatives of the economic Bello, the director of Yahaya Bello's media office, Ohiari Michael, raised the alarm in a statement on Wednesday night titled, "Despite voluntary visit, EFCC officials surround Kogi Government Lodge, Abuja, in an attempt to forcefully arrest former Governor Yahaya Bello. Fires gunshots." Now, earlier in the day, the ex-governor's media team and the anti-graft agency were engaged in a verbal dispute over the controversial visit of the ex-governor to the EFCC headquarters in Abuja. There was a statement by Bello's media team that said the ex-governor finally surrendered himself and visited the EFCC headquarters months after being declared wanted by the anti-graft agency. But then he says when Bello went to the EFCC headquarters voluntarily to clear his name, the anti-graft agency in Abuja. Forward, we have statements that are somewhat difficult to comprehend, especially with the back and forth. The report is, the EFC, it's not a part of this. That's the thing. In their statement, not once did they mention he came to our facility or we saw him. Nothing like that was said. They just specifically said that he's not in our custody, he's not in holding, and he still remains wanted. There's still a warrant for his arrest. But his media team is saying he was at your facility, he came there, and there are pictures. He came there, but then he was told that he was not going to be attended to, and after waiting a few hours he left, only for the operatives of the EFCC to come to the government lodge, attempt to arrest him at night, and then the reporter claiming that shots were even fired. Fuad, how do we make sense of this entire scenario?
I think in one of the papers they said even the AFCC chairman was around when Yahya Bello, that some sources in the AFCC said the chairman said he didn't want to see him, and so he even left. When he was told that Yahya Bello was around in the car, he left without seeing. And when Yahya Bello discovered that the AFCC chairman was not ready to receive, he also left at the facility. I don't know really, because like you said, it's extremely difficult to make a sense from what has happened. You've declared someone wanted, you've made a lot of noise, you've put himself in, he comes in, makes himself available, again, this governor of Kogi State, Yahya Bello, at the EFCC office. But again, that's another conversation entirely. But again, to arrest, you said all manner of things, you declared him wanted, showed up at your facility, you refused to attend to him, only to go to the Kogi State government lodge to now start some unnecessary drama. And for me, it's just completely unnecessary. But it is what it is now. Yahya Bello can make his calling the media people. Here I am. I think Fᴜဃᴜ did the same thing. He had a bet on.
Yes, I'm here.
I'm not entertaining. We are going to make sure we arrest. Whether it's again, I think Yahya Bello would have to make a second visit to the EFCC office and then make a showing out of it. Get the media people. Wait to see what the EFCC will say. The chairman is a very bold and making statements on this Yahya Bello issue. So I think he has to talk now. He also has to make a statement on this. A wanted man visited their facility and they refused to arrest or detain or question him, as the case may be.
For sort of diminishes their outlook, especially in the eyes of the people. Because if you declare a person wanted, there's even some sort, I wouldn't call it a bounty per se, but then you put money on the head of somebody that you're looking for, storm the government house to try to arrest them, and now people are wondering if you know what you're doing. And once people start to doubt the credibility of an agency, nothing you do would ever make sense to people anymore. So this lack of coordination in the operation of the EFCC, don't you think this is going to have a lasting effect on even their outlook to the Nigerian people?
Well, that's the first thing, to making necessary reforms and correcting mistakes, sort of issues as to the way they carry out their operations, their mode of operations, their intentions, as to how to fight this corruption. And that's why a lot of people question what they've been able to really achieve since they were created under the Obasanjo administration. Except for Yahoo boys and all these small issues. The big monsters are working free. My mind, what I thought yesterday was that, look, yesterday the EFCC will receive him, detain him, he probably will not be able to go home yesterday. All of the so-called VIPs that came with him will eventually leave him there. They can't remain there with him. Lawyers will probably be around and hoping that he would have his day in court. And then Yahya Bello will join the long list of former governors who have unending trials with the EFCC. You understand? That was what I was thinking. But only for us to see that, look, it's all about drama, it's never attended to. So confusing. You understand what I'm saying? So I agree with you that people already even doubted, the credibility of the EFCC. And it's not just about Yahya Bello. How many of the big cases have they been able to really resolve? Say, how many of the cases against the governors have they been able to resolve? Although the chairman will tell you that it's not really about them, but the legal system that allows, for you to look at the EFCC structure and ask ourselves, is this enough really?
Oh, that's a question whose answer is yet to be seen. This particular story is on page 12 of the Punch newspaper. Once again, you're listening to Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. We're streaming the program live on Facebook and on FM. I'm Sage Babalola, and I'm here having conversations with Fᴜʟʟ as we jointly look through the pages of our Edo poll. INEC deploys 5,000 beavers, 18,000 ad hoc workers, the right sensitive materials. Well, Fᴜʟʟ, this is more or less an update on the September 21 election that is scheduled to hold hawk workers, all of this in a bid to ensure the smooth running free fair election that was promised to the people. But then if this funding level of saneness in the coordination and credibility,
it's nice that the materials have arrived early enough, and we are also open on election. There won't be glitches with beavers will work, accreditation will be done seamlessly, voting will be done. We are also hoping that incidents of overvoting, voter suppression and subversion will not be as widespread as we saw in the last general election. We are hoping for, I don't think they are going to be well behaved. It's just what it is. But
you have no faith in them, Fᴜʟʟ? None whatsoever.
It's a consistent pattern now. It's not their behavior that matters now. It is how INEC is able to, do its own job. We also issuing statements warning troublemakers. The police has also pledged to be non-partisan. They want to do their job professionally, protect every voter on election day. So let's see how it goes on Saturday. I've said before the close of voting for that day. I'm sure one political party will start complaining. We don't know which of the parties, so we'll give the final hammer.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Fᴜʟʟ. That is on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. We have here, Tinubu may merge MDA, scrap humanitarian ministry. The story tells us aviation as part of a major cabinet rejig. The exercise would also see some portfolios split and others merged into a single entity, while some ministers, the All Progressives Congress, to sack underperforming ministers in his cabinet. And although the president has on poverty alleviation, Dr. Betta Edu, well, Fᴜʟʟ, we might indeed still see a cabinet rejig and also the merging of certain MDAs. And the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation might actually come to an end, especially with the history that we've seen with that particular ministry, allegations of fraud that has been leveled against pretty much everyone who has headed that particular agency. If we were to speak on ministers that you believe would most likely lose their position, are there any specific ministers, Fᴜʟʟ, that you think would make that list of ministers that would lose their title and their position?
We have about 48 ministers now.
Right.
And I think we should concentrate on the minister that I think will retain their job.
Okay.
It's about lose. We'll not
leave here. Okay.
Practically, so let me just you understand. For me, those that should retain their jobs will probably not be more than 5 or maybe 6 maximum. Again, a lot of them, some of them are underperforming, some of them are just missing enough compensation. But again, I think we have about 5 or 6 ministers who have done relatively well. That should, still retain their job. Minister of Interior is number 1 on the list for me. He's been a bit quiet and really disappointed for. I also think the Minister of the FCT, I think the Minister of Power, Adelabu, should also retain his job. He started, I think, a number of real issues in the power sector are now being addressed. Funding issues, again, distribution company issues are still there. But I think it's not like of old where it was more motion without movement. I think Minister of Works, again, has been very, very quiet in recent time. But again, because of his track record and his understanding of that ministry, I think it's also somebody that we can retain and hope that he's going to get things done. Honestly, you see that I'm struggling with. I'm actually struggling.
It can be hard.
It can really be hard because, again, we've had a situation where the general performance of the government, in these different ministries, they are terrible performers that we can quickly highlight. Minister of Agriculture, for example, the blue economy man, I think it was, aside from the fact that maybe they work for the party, they probably did not deserve, that appointment. So, but again, this report is just sources. It's not attached to any official state. This can happen, or this is going to happen because of the initial commitment of the president to the implementation of the ᴜᴜᴜ report.
Yeah.
If you understand what I'm saying, because the president also created a committee headed by, I don't know whether a performance evaluation report has been submitted to the president. But you know that the report is not as important as the evaluation of the president himself, of his ministry. I think the best evaluation should come from him. Again, wait to see whether there's going to be any cabinet rejig, whether they're extremely poorly disappointed by the number of Nigerians. I think the president should accept that and see how it can rework.
12. Cameroon dam release. States plan emergency shelters. Following the proposed release of water from the Lagdo Dam in Cameroon into River Niger and River Benue, states along the flood path have started planning to release water from the Lagdo Dam. A statement by the Director General and Chief Executive Officer of the Nigeria Hydrological Service Agency, Umar Mohammed, listed 11 states at risk. The states include Adamawa, Taraba, Benue, Nasarawa, Kogi, Edo, Delta, Anambra, Bayelsa, Cross River, and River states. Please pardon me, I just needed to list those states so we can understand these are the states that are the most vulnerable when Cameroon decides to open the Lagdo Dam. So forward, all in a bit to make sure we minimize the casualty figures that would be recorded when islands providing temporary shelters, among other things. But Fuad, if you would allow me, here's one thing. The amount of money that we spend annually setting up temporary shelters and move Lagdo Dam will release the water. You would have a dam on your end that is supposed to collect said water. So all of
you know, we talk about the more sustainable solution to the problem of the Lagdo Dam. And it's not just the Lagdo Dam, other dams across the country. It's what we saw. And my mind, apart from even this gather release of water from that dam, are we sure that's in control of this particular dam?
Right.
It's another country that is in charge of that dam. And if this dam are going to the point where whenever we have these heavy rains in the year, get filled up and water should be released, gradually. I'm saying that our authorities should now go beyond just creating all these temporary shelters and what have you, to checking, the what's it called? How safe the dam is. Yes, the integrity of that dam. That's number one. Number two is that, look, we have all of these ecological funds we give governors, we spread around and what have you. I agree that if we wanted a more permanent solution, we would have been able to do it. But where is the commitment? It will have to come from serious commitment, from our leaders, both at the state and the national level, to like, we want a permanent solution to this problem. If you understand what I'm saying, there's a lot that you can do with dams. Irrigation is there, power generation is there, a lot of things, good things that comes with owning a dam and running your own dam. While we're looking at these temporary solutions now to the problem, I agree that we have to begin to talk about a more permanent solution to the problem. But again, it goes back to the question, how committed are we to creating a more sustainable solution to the problem?
Oh, that's the question right there. Like I said, that particular story is on page 12. Homes will be destroyed. Their farmlands will probably be destroyed. Their properties will be lost. So when you move them, after the rains, you can't move them exactly. How do you move back to a damaged area? What are you going to do after the rains when you can no longer sustain the temporary shelter? Are you then going to build
persons that have lost their lives? I can imagine the number of properties that have damaged that, and how do we get people who have lost their property that collapse to? We need to ask ourselves questions. What is the way forward with that dam? Or are we going to just go through this particular terrible episode, go back again to normalcy, and then another one happens and we'll continue to talk about it again? And there are other dams. Nimes has also said that, look, let us check the other dams across the country. Yeah. Integrity tests on all of them. So I think this is one issue we should take seriously.
Our apologies. Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. You're listening to Trends in the Papers on Mainland FM. I'm Sage Babalola. You've been hearing the voice of Fᴜʟᴏ. Together, we've been looking at the front page of Punch newspaper. The most recent stories talking about the possibility of it will be released, whether or not we like it. The Cameroonian Lagdo Dam, the gradual release of water, and the states that would be affected by this particular endeavor. The plan of the government to move them out of harm's way and put them in temporary shelter, amongst other things. Well, the question is, any time this particular activity of releasing water from the Lagdo Dam is done, it's so unfortunate that we still see consequences like this one when the water is released. What do we need to do as a permanent solution to ensure that we have the facility or the capacity to receive the water when when it is released from the Lagdo Dam. Fuad Said joins us again. Welcome, Fuad.
Yeah, I'm here, I said.
Yes,
Sorry.
please complete your thoughts so we move to another story.
No, I was saying that there was this issue that happened, I think it was in Libya, where a dam, collapsed and then water came into the city and washed away hundreds of people. But the mayor of the city was chased away from the town by the people. And it was in the case of negligence too. There had been complaints about the integrity of saying that while we are having these issues around dams in Nigeria and outside Nigeria, let's pay serious attention to the integrity of these dams so that we don't have a sudden collapse that's going to come with serious fatalities and problems for the people.
All right, then, like I said, page 12 of the Punch has that story. Moving forward, private employers paying below 70,000 naira risk jail. This is according to the federal government. Now, the federal government has called on agencies recruiting for the private sector to adhere to the 70 to address the current economic reality, emphasizing that no Nigerian worker, whether in government or private employment, should be paid less than the minimum wage. The Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Labour and Employment, Kacholom Daju, stated this on Wednesday while speaking at the 13th Annual General Meeting of the Employers Association for Private Employment Agencies of Nigeria, which held in Ikeja, Lagos. Well, Fuad, now the charge has been pushed to the private sector. They were part of the negotiation, as you just mentioned, that the private sector, the union, the labour unions, the federal government, they were all part of the minimum wage negotiation. And now the federal government is saying, as a private business owners, as long as you're recruiting, nobody in your organization should earn less than 70,000 naira. If you falter, you risk being
70,000. The federal government has not started paying. They are already thinking of jailing. Even you that initiated and agreed to this payment have not started paying it. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So and there are governors who will still not pay. A lot of governors have not agreed to pay the 70,000 naira. So I think the permanent secretary have concentrated more talking to the government at all levels for thinking of the private sector, because the reality of the private sector is there for us to really look at, the nature of employment, challenges, and what have you, So, but again, I think she's just being very theoretical about it. This is what the law says, or probably just from the top of her head, just wants to say something. But in terms of practice and the practicality of this minimum wage, there's no problem in the private sector. Number of private sector, business owners would not be able to pay all their staff, depending on the nature of employment. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
So, but at the end of the day, I think we're in an era where this 70,000 does not even make sense again in terms of minimum wage. With what has happened with the price of TMS and other things. So, but I think the commitment should be from the government first. Let the government lead and others will follow. Pay the minimum wage for let's see, and let's ensure that all governors also pay before we begin to now throw jabs at the private sector. I don't think this issue of jailing or not jailing really comes in for now. I think it's just throwing out there unnecessary.
It's on page 7 of the Punch newspaper. Moving on to the next story we have here. Lagos State government records 300 domestic violence cases on a monthly basis. We have the Executive Secretary of the Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency, Titilola Vaivo Adeniyi, who says the agency handles an average of 300 domestic violence cases on a monthly basis, adding that in the last 10 years, 6,333 survivors have been assisted. There was a symposium that was done in collaboration with the International Institute for Democracy and Electoral Assistance, funded by the European Union. Well, this just underscores the need to prioritize investigating the incidence of domestic violence in the country on a month. That should pardon my bias. It's just that of 10 cases, 8 are usually female victims. So you forgive me for my bias. Yes, actually, yes. Reported. That's why I said reported. Because here's the thing. I've had a conversation with their female partner. So that's why a lot of domestic violence missed out on men goes largely underreported. Yes, but
how do I tell people that my wife
beats me? It's an ego thing, so they will not report. So please forgive me for my bias.
How do we help men who are captured in that culture of violence?
Well, they tell their friends, but they usually don't want to seek help. They'll just mention their friends, but they don't seek help.
And how do we fight the stigma? So that, because again, if there are if now you've given us the statistics of 8-2, and I'm saying that we need to question that 8-2. If we have now agreed that your wife is beating you, but a lot of men also face these things. They are not just bold enough to come out to say. They die in silence and live in silence. But again, I think the Lagos State government has done very well with this.
Yeah.
Issue of domestic violence, I think gender-based violence, violence against women, the issue of sexual harassment. I think all of the structure that Lagos State has put in place for this has worked, is working, and it's very, very commendable. Kudos to Lagos State government on these particular issues. And I think people in charge are also very committed. They are strong-willed people, highly committed people.
Punch newspaper, other headlines here. World Bank to grant Nigeria $1.7 billion loan, according to a report. Fouad, I don't know what it is. 121 trillion is not a joke. And we're not paying back yet. We're using the bulk of our budgetary allocation, to service spending them on recurrent expenditure. We're never using it for capital expenditure that we say, oh, we'll get our money and then we'll pay back the loans. We keep spending it on recurrent expenditure, paying salaries, backlog of loans, buying cars, and refurbishing people's houses and what have you. I don't know, Fouad. Is it?
Show them our book and our capacity to repay. A lot of the stringent, a lot of the aggressive, really you show these guys the capacity to repay. Although they are going to tell you they are going to monitor it, put some stringent conditions, blah, blah, but at the end of the day, we know that most of these loans are not reflective of anything. Here, with most of these foreign loans, that they come in dollars. So, as much as, they come good repayment period, it's always very long, 10, 20, sometimes 25 years. But the reality is that, look, what are we doing with these loans? Debt to GDP. And we still have this opportunity to continue to borrow. As we do that, we should also put our corruption index, like your corruption index, which would eventually see most of this money go into private pockets. And the essence of the loan would have been completely defeated because of your corruption index. But I think that these institutions which are going to give us this money know what they are doing. You're going to remain perpetually in debt. What I'm saying, but it is what it is. We'll continue to get this money because somehow we are able to show that we have the capacity to repay. But what do we do with the money?
Indeed. Well, it's on page 26 of the Punch newspaper, and that's pretty much everything we have for you for the Punch newspaper. We're about to move now to Vanguard. There's a story in Vanguard I really want us to address, and if we have time, we read through the headlines on the front page of Guardian. But Vanguard tells us this morning that major marketers begin lifting petrol from Dangote refinery. The riders, we want to import, compete with NNPC, Dangote, independent marketers. Federal government, others should be transparent, says CPPE. We have here that the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, has authorized major petroleum marketers to commence lifting the premium motor spirit, otherwise known as petrol, from Dangote Petroleum Refinery. Unhighlighted, he says, and I'm quoting now, I can confirm that we have some major marketers already lifting from Dangote Refinery, but it's still under the NNPC arrangement. In other words, we're lifting NNPC's product from Dangote Refinery. It is not our product. We have no direct arrangement with the refinery. We also have
the major marketers.
Yes, in order to lift it, we
load.
Those
who buy from the black market.
We load at the old rate of 870. The NNPCL have directed major marketers to go and take product from Dangote. Which means that you would deal with the NNPCL, but you will go and load at Dangote refinery. And the product that they are loading right now is not necessarily under the Dangote arrangement. It's the outstanding stock, the PMS that NNPCL owes them. That's what they're still going to offload from Dangote. The marketers are still saying they're waiting for the price template before they now start buying from the NNPCL the product that they have taken from Dangote. So right now, what they are lifting from Dangote is the old stock that NNPCL owes them. So it's not like they have access to buy from Dangote directly right now. They're still dealing with the NNPCL.
Basically, you pay NNPCL, you go there to load your own product.
Yes.
And the question people have been asking is, why is the NNPCL suddenly the only one to take, charge of the Dangote product? Why did NNPCL not do that for this Why did they not do that for Jet A1? Why is it PMS? You know, again, we've done all this analysis. Again, it's really a lot to me just continue to talk about our predicament as to the shenanigans, the corruption, you know, the level of opaqueness in the oil sector. We are left to only talk about it. How do we help ourselves? Even when the owner of the refinery is not able to come out to say, this is how much I'm selling the product to them. Say, shouldn't that get us worried? Even when the owner had gone through all of the battles in the world, fought all manner of cabals to be able to produce PMS, he was asked, how much are you going to sell, sir? He said, no, they will decide, not me. And that's where Nigerians should start thinking and worrying about what's going on actually. And then every other thing that preceded this release of PMS from the Dangote refinery. The surging, you know, it was all lies. So those people they were owing now, because as of yesterday, what we now have is that look, this same arrangement we are talking about has led us to the point where between the Dangote refinery and the NDPC, they can't even agree on how much they bought and how much they sold to themselves. Both of them also cannot even agree on the volume of products that have been so far lifted. What as of yesterday, sources are saying Dangote is saying they've gone over 111 million liters in 3 days. NNPCL is showing a different figure. So the way they modeled up importation of PMS, the way they invested every corruption into the process of bringing petroleum products into the country, they started again with local refining. The way they made up books, deceived Nigerians, continue to lie about what they were doing as the sole importer of the product into the country. They also hijacked the process of refining the product domestically, and as we speak, figures are now running helter-skelter. It's a normal thing with them. That NNPCL is the headquarters of corruption in Nigeria. Their statements are so disjointed, you can't even believe anything they tell you, and you have a situation where Dangote has to continue to rub their ego. He can't even, as much as he releases statements, there are still some statements he keeps to himself. God knows the kind of arrangement they have amongst themselves. So this is where we are. We can only come on radio to lament about the situation, because these are guys that we did not vote for. We can't be completely entitled to Dangote. We can now prevail on through the president that we voted for to please help us go and clean the mess and rot in that system. And it's going to be sheer hypocrisy for anybody to come and say the president is not aware. One, he's the Minister of Petroleum. Two, he has his friend and associate on the board, heading the board of the NNPCL. So he's aware, and that's why we are saying that, Mr. President, you promised to go into that place to clean the mess, to make the product not only available, but also affordable for Nigeria. That's where the wallet came into his campaign policy. And Nigerians are waiting on him to do that for them.
Well, that's what we have for this morning. I'll just run through the headlines that we have on the front pages of The Guardian. We have here, low patronage hits online stores. Malls amid 200% sand sack is on page 6. We have Bello remains...
Just one minute on that.
Yes.
𝐴̀màkindé must have shocked a lot of people yesterday when he said that, look, the acting national chairman, they are with him, they are solely for him, and that is not just him, that even his brother, the governor from Osun State, is also with the acting national chairman. I think what the Wike side and the Alhaji Atiku Abubakar side, we know that the Alhaji Atiku Abubakar side wants Demagom, the acting chairman, out, while the Wike wants him to still retain that power. So if today is saying that we are still with you, acting national chairman, that should tell people who are trying to understand what's going on in PDP. And look, my mind tells me that party will not recover. I think if Nigerians are looking for one serious opposition political party, we should start to look away from the PDP. I doubt if they are serious to bring the party together as a viable opposition.
Well, It's on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. If you would like more information, we have here donate Randi lecturers of OAUTH removes office beds. It's on page 2. Also here, CSOs worry over Edo Guba elect for airport upgrade. Defers presumptive tax implementation on page 7 of the Guardian newspaper. Well, the rest of the stories we have on the front page of the Vanguard, well, actually, it's all just... they bought out the page, the Labour Party, for the campaign of Olumide Akpata page of the Vanguard. There's no story particularly.
It's interesting to see how Olumide Akpata is pushing on. For people who are not taking him, well, I think the man might actually be a major contender. I don't know. I doubt it's going to be 3 also. I think it's going to be 2. But the way he's pushing on, who knows? That just happened for him. Nothing is impossible. Might just be the chosen one.
Probably he might be. Well, other stories here really. Over 21,000 apply for 7,000 Kwasek ad hoc jobs on page 30, and fuel scarcity, tanker driver urgency risk is on page 5. And that's everything we have for you this morning on Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. Thank you so very much for the time you've spent with us. Fuad, we thank you for your analysis this morning as always. Maybe another 45 minutes will take time to receive your feedback and also take your opinion on all the stories we have reviewed, either the ones we spoke about today or yesterday when you were unable to talk to us. Whatever the case may be, as long as it's a matter of national importance, you get time to talk about that story. As long as you follow the rules and regulation of public conversations, by all means, take your time. And we'll also be streaming that segment of the Morning Express live as well when we come back at 8:40 a.m. We're due for a commercial. I'm Sage Babalola. Fuad Said will be joining us as well. Don't go anywhere.